welcome to the Kelly Roach Show, a place for no fluff, easy to implement, 20-minute or less business and leadership lessons to help you build a sustainable business that scales. Let's get started. She's back, your favorite guest on the Kelly Roach Show. I have Danielle in the house today. Hey, Danielle, good morning.
Hello, hello.
All right. So we know the theme of the day is people burning their businesses down. No, just kidding. Actually, yeah.
Kind of.
It kind of is the theme of the day. But we're really excited about some of the amazing things that we're doing across the 3 companies that you run inside our portfolio. And we're seeing growth, we're seeing profitability, and we're seeing simplicity that is scaling. And so I wanted to bring you back on the show today, Danielle, because we have this new content strategy that you introduced and that you have been testing and that you are soon going to be bringing to our agency clients. And I want to break that down for everybody today because I feel like, again, marketing continues to be an area where people feel super overwhelmed. Now we have threads coming in the mix. Now people feel another layer of overwhelm, another layer of confusion. And our job here on the show is to help people understand how to simplify to scale. So why don't you start, Danielle, by talking about the problem that you saw? And then why don't you talk about the solution that you've been implementing? How long did it take to see an ROI? What did that look like? And let's just kind of break it down for everybody and talk about how they can also steal this strategy and use it in their own businesses.
So I think the big problem that we saw, and this was across, clients in our coaching company, and then looking at new companies that, yes, we had brand power, but we didn't have any of the other fancy stuff. These are by all means, brand new baby start from scratch companies. And so what I saw across the board was a couple of things. Number one, when you're starting out, people look at like the big people doing all the things and they feel like they have to immediately do all the things, which is a very sure way to tank your marketing efforts, especially if it's you or just you and 1 or 2 people. You're not going to be able to do all the things that someone with a 10% marketing team is going to be able to do and hundreds of thousands of dollars of ads. On the flip side, we see these multi-million-dollar business owners and they have 25 different contractors and they're all doing this like one thing and there's no strategy in place. There's no like overarching methodology. There's no like method to the madness. It's like I hired someone to do reels and then I hired somebody to do LinkedIn and then I hired somebody for my podcast and then I hired somebody to send 1 email a week and they're managing all these people with no cohesive strategy in place. So I started testing. It's kind of old school. I just went back to the basics of, what we did, 12 years ago and looked at how can I increase the effectiveness of this? What new tools do we have at our disposal to make this, easier and simpler and consistently implemented over time? And so it's super simple. It's a clear strategy, whether you're brand new starting out and you just need to put something in place, or you're running a multi-million-dollar business with several people on your team and you need to bring them all under one umbrella to focus your attention and your effort. So that's what we've been doing.
Let's go back for just a second before we go into, I'll call it the content funnel strategy. I want to talk a little bit about this idea of all of these contractors that everyone is using because, Danielle's not talking theoretically. So when we onboard a client into the Conviction Marketing Agency, obviously we're going through every element of what is happening right now with their marketing. And what we're seeing over and over again as we're onboarding these clients, very successful businesses, by the way, they have this really fragmented strategy. I know I talked about this when I acquired the Advance. I think we had 8 different contractors in the Advance, and really all we needed was 2, part-time employees to run and grow the business. And I think for a lot of you, you don't realize that there is still mental load and there's still bandwidth that is being pulled when you're having all of these different contractors, but also it's inefficient. It's actually more expensive. And because there's no cohesion, it's very difficult to actually have pull through to get ROI. So you're getting the tactical task completed, but you're not achieving the outcome or the goal of the task, which is the ROI. So when we think about really simplifying, consolidating, and really reinforcing the why behind content, it's to drive conversions in your business in the form of people opting into your weekly newsletter, people engaging in your content, people raising their hand to book a consultation with your team, and people attending your launches or your webinars or whatever conversion events that you do in your business. They might be live events. They might be a one-day virtual workshop. It may be a summit, a live launch, whatever it is. But your content has a very specific job, and your content's job is to convert. And if your content is not converting, it's not doing its job. Now, that may be because you have to improve the quality of your content, which that's not what today's session is about. And actually, I just recorded an entire episode on high quality content that converts. So you can go listen to that episode if that's the issue that you are facing. But for most people, and what Danielle is referring to here that she's seeing with the agency, and we see this obviously with our coaching clients as well, is that most business owners understand the importance of content. They're creating a lot of content. They're taking a lot of action, but that action is not effective in leading people down a pathway that drives opt-ins to the newsletter, registrations for your conversion events, and consultations for closes. And that is really the heart of the issue that we want to attack in today's episode. Okay, back to you, Danielle.
Yeah, I think that what we see again in multiple companies, certainly in the agency, but then even with our highest level coaching clients, is that they're very stressed because their marketing isn't working. And it's actually not that their marketing isn't working. It's that there's no focused attention or effort. And so everything works like a little bit. So they're making progress, but they're like really, really working hard. There's usually a huge disconnect between marketing and sales. And so it's this stressful, overwhelming thing. They feel like they're constantly creating and it's just not driving to anything. And then you get people on the other side that are telling you, you got to build these complex funnels that have 29 layers of segmentation and everything is supposed to be perfect. But if somebody clicks the wrong button, you're kind of in a trouble because now you don't know where they go and where they belong. And so you don't need these big complex systems. What you need is a direct path to exactly what Kelly said. It's one of three things. It's buying a low ticket offer where you don't need any sort of call or conversion. It's just straight to the purchase, which could be for products or services. It's sales calls for high ticket, which is getting calls booked on your calendar to have a sales conversation, or getting people to your conversion event, which could be an evergreen webinar. It could be a live launch. It could be a one-day intensive. It could be whatever version of that, an event, whatever version of that you want to focus on. So if you're not driving to those three things, you could have the most beautifully segmented list on the planet with 29 layers of automation, and it will literally mean nothing. And so people spend all their time building these things, but they don't actually have a plan to drive anybody to it. And what we see is people will rely too heavily on ads, which we love ads. We use ads. We're proponents of ads, but ads can change overnight. And this has literally happened to us. We've run hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars in ads at this point, and they will be perfect and wonderful and super great cost per lead. We go to sleep, we wake up the next day and it's tripled overnight. Nothing changed, literally nothing changed. It goes from $7 a lead to $20 a lead because you went to sleep. So at the end of the day, you need a strategy that can work with ads and without ads, and you need a clear path and a clear funnel to get the results you're looking for.
That's it, 1000%. So Danielle, why don't we introduce this concept that we've been using, we'll call it a content funnel. Let's talk about, Danielle, just in its simplest form, let's talk about this content funnel that we've been using and how it works exactly.
So what everyone needs to understand is, despite what all of the media gurus tell you, a funnel is not a complex thing that has 29 different steps and pop-ups and all these things. A funnel is literally just people find you, they learn to love you, and then they want to buy from you. That's all it is. So you need to think about everything you create and everything in your marketing ecosystem as, what part of the funnel is this? Is it bringing people into my world? So it's introducing me to new people. Is it nurturing those people to a buying decision? Nurturing people so that they just like you is not going to cut it. You could be very well liked and very broke. So you want to make sure
that is very true.
Actually, they need to like you. They need to trust you. They need to know you're an expert, but they also need to see you positioned as someone who can get results. So there's bringing people into the ecosystem. There's nurturing them, positioning yourself as an expert who gets results that they like. And then it's presenting them with opportunities to, again, one of three things: make a low ticket purchase from you, book a sales call, or attend a conversion event where you're going to then sell them. So that's all your funnel is. It's not more complicated than that. You do not need 29 layers. So I went back to just what worked old school in marketing. So a couple of things that seem so basic. I know you're going to be like, Danielle, this is not revolutionary, but number one, it's driven sales calls for our agency every single week from inbound people that are not clients in our other companies. So these are new people that are not in our ecosystem, that are finding us, that are booking calls. It has filled all of our workshop events. We've run in these new companies, in some companies, 0 ads. And in the one company where we run ads, it's such a small amount compared to what we used to do. Yeah. It's so nominal. And so it's driven registrations for conversion events. It's driven sales for tickets to live events. It's all the things. So it sounds simple, but don't we want simple? Don't we want
we want simple, Danielle. That's what we all need. We need simple.
So basically we leverage a content strategy that uses the conviction marketing formula with some specific criteria. So we use informational context. We're very heavy on that. There's kind of a back and forth that Kelly and I probably see this a little different, but it depends on the platform that you're on. For those who are in expert-based businesses, you really showcasing in-depth knowledge consistently over time is what we see moving the needle for our clients, specifically with high ticket offers. So specifically when you're trying to get people on a call, they really want to see that you have in-depth knowledge. So it's that how-to content, which is at the bottom of the conviction marketing pyramid. Hope content, we have been seeing great results from sharing in-depth client case studies. This is what somebody came to me as. This is how I help them accomplish their goal. So it's less of the emotional, like, you do it, you're so great, and this is it. It's more of, this is a before picture and an after picture, whether it's, financially or spiritually, whatever that is for that client. This is how we help them get it. And then the other side of that coin is your own story. So leveraging your own before and after, the lessons you're learning, positioning yourself in even the hope content. So you're inspiring people like, hey, if you're here, you can be here. This is how you get there. This is how we help you. And then the conviction content is really just, again, where we've seen some results in this is looking at your unique differentiator, how you've chosen to do things differently in your business, and calling out what's wrong in the industry and how you've met that call and said, this is why we do it differently. And so actually, this is the greatest example I have of this is with our marketing agency. Most marketing agencies will they don't even take your content. They will just create a bunch of fluff content that's other people's quotes and generic nonsense that doesn't make sense. They have a specific posting formula. They're going to post a certain time of day. They're going to post at a certain time, and then they're going to leave it. And they're going to say they did your social media. And in theory, they did your social media, but they're not going to do the daily outbound engagement that's required. They're not going to do the messaging behind the scenes. They're not going to take the time to listen to your videos, your podcast, to pull out your content, your brilliance. And so that's a unique differentiator for us. We don't use bots. We don't use AI generated content. We don't use fluff and nonsense that gets lots of shares, but doesn't get calls. That's a differentiator for us. So when we talk about how we see that in the industry and then showcase how we do things differently, it drives people to our feeds and it drives people to our DMs and it drives people to our calendars. So we've leveraged the conviction marketing formula on our social media platforms. And I'll be honest, I think everybody should be everywhere. I say this all the time. I think, if you can be on all platforms, why not build audiences everywhere? But if you're trying to keep things simple, having one platform that you learn and that you learn exceptionally well, like the algorithm, you spend time engaging on it daily, you're doing the daily things that are required, that's all you need to drive this. Then what we're
Plus
doing
a backup for insurance policies.
yeah, I do think 2 is always helpful because we have had stuff shut down. If you can do a minimum 2, but I always say you can have your one focus and then just post somewhere else so that it's building. And then if it happens,
exactly.
you go to the other one.
Exactly.
But ultimately the goal should be to be everywhere. You do want to be on all the platforms all the time. So you're posting daily. But then we're driving people to a newsletter. And when I say newsletter, everyone's like, oh my gosh, I actually saw a post. It was so funny because the person was like, it's so 2012. And I was like, well, 2012 is making me some cash. So it's
2012. I'll tell you what. I mean, we were making some money.
I
We're still making money.
Whatever. But this is a different style of newsletter. So a couple things that we do differently with our newsletters, and we'll put the links in the show notes. We have one that I do that's focused specifically on marketing and personal branding. Kelly's got one that is more business strategy, peak performance, personal growth. So the difference with our newsletters is that they're very specific. Every week on Saturday morning, you're going to get one topic. It's not a brain dump of like, listen to my podcast and like, here's 3 things and 25 nonsense. It is one content topic that's taught in depth. So we're literally going to walk you through 3 different points. We're going to explain everything. It's like a little mini masterclass in your inbox. It takes about 6 minutes to read, and that's all. So I've done ones in the past on social media captions and how to write them effectively. And I literally have screenshots of here's a post, here's why it works. I've broken it down step by step. My last one, I taught you the rule of 1. If you want it, you got to sign up for the newsletter and you can see the email. But it's one of the most important content copywriting rules on the planet. I broke it down for you in the newsletter. So number 1, it's in-depth content. It's not content that's fluff. It's not just most people do newsletters and it's kind of like this dump of just everything like at one time of like, these are all the things you should do that are mine. It's not that. It's an in-depth topic. Number 2, it's not content you can find other places. Now, there are times where we'll take our newsletter content, we might repurpose it for a podcast or a podcast that's been repurposed. But every time there's unique value in the newsletter. So even if it's from a podcast from 2 years ago, we're going to update it. We're going to go further in depth. We're going to explain it differently. So you will not find this content somewhere else, which is really important because what most people do with newsletters is they point to something else. They point to a YouTube video or a podcast. And I'm not saying you can't do these things. We'll put those links at the bottom of our newsletters. But if I can go listen to your podcast and learn the same thing, or I can go watch your YouTube video and learn the same thing, then why would I read your newsletter? Which means I'm not going to open your emails, which means when you try to sell me something, I'm done opening your stuff because I haven't gotten value in the past. You're just sending me to a YouTube video or a podcast. So at the end of the day, this is content that's unique to the newsletter. You're not going to find it anywhere else. And it's high value. Like you're going to learn something. If you open my newsletter, you are going to learn something. If you open Kelly's newsletter, you are going to learn something, and it's going to be stuff that you can't just find in other places. So we're nurturing people in the newsletter in a way that is unique. It's novel, and it's actually showcasing authority and that we can get results. But then at the bottom of every newsletter is a section where we are very openly and clearly, it's not like disguised. We're promoting whatever it is that we're promoting at that time. So for Kelly, sometimes it's just, hey, check out the latest 2 episodes of the podcast. Now, the whole newsletter is not about the podcast. It's about some other in-depth topic. But at the bottom, it might be, check out the podcast. If it makes sense, her last one that we just sent out, it was something that related to what's in her book, Bigger Than You. So we put a link to, hey, if you want to continue learning more about this topic that we just broke down, go buy Bigger Than You. It's going to walk you through it. Sometimes if we're launching the Inevitable Millionaire, it'll be registrations for a workshop. We'll get people signed up for a workshop. We might have an event that we're promoting where we want to sell tickets to an event, and we'll use that section for that. In my newsletter, it's very clear. I have a certain number of agency spots. Right now, we can't take any more clients for certain things, but we can take them for some just because of caseloads and where we are. So if you want full social media management from us, you need to get on a wait list because we have one. But we can take, a LinkedIn only client or a podcast production only client. So every week I list out exactly what we can take. And I'll say there's 2 spots. And this is how much it costs. I don't want anybody booking a call who's going to be like, I thought it was $200. It's not $200, y'all. It's a couple $1,000s a month. So I list out exactly what's there. And then I put in that how much it costs and then a link to book the call. And every week we are driving results through that little section on the bottom because we provided such value in the newsletter. So it's so simple. It sounds so basic, but it's allowing us to do several things. It's allowing us to establish authority. It's allowing us to showcase knowledge and results, because usually in those newsletters, we'll talk about, a client who got this result. Here's how we did it. And then it's allowing us to make a pitch without feeling like we're just selling constantly in the inbox, because we provided so much value. So super simple content to newsletter. The third layer of this is growing that list, right? So you can't just continue to do this to the same people over and over. I mean, obviously they want to be nurtured and get the content, but you have to be filling your list. And so there's a couple of ways to do that. Number one, we do daily outbound engagement on social every day. So we're always going to people on social, engaging in their content and bringing them into our ecosystem. When we do that, we send welcome messages when they come follow us. And that usually will get them on our list in some capacity. It's a conversation that we have, but we'll bring them in. Number two, podcast guesting. It's a great way to get out into the world in front of new audiences. It's a great way to connect with people that you would never connect with and establish immediate authority, because you borrow that authority from the podcast host. Often what that looks like specifically for Kelly is she goes on a show, promotes her podcast, which then will drive to whatever it is that we're driving to. Super simple ways. And then obviously ads. If you have a budget for ads, you can do very simple things like taking one Instagram reel and boosting it. If it's got a clear call to action for your newsletter, boosting it to a specific audience and getting more signups that way. You can run more traditional conversion ads where people actually have to opt in. And you can do this because it's a lead magnet. It's not, you're not asking people to make a direct purchase. Your cost per lead is going to be significantly lower. In some cases, we're getting $2, $3, $4 leads. So you don't need a massive ad budget to grow this significantly. And then the fourth thing, which we're still testing, but it's been driving some good results, I'm going to mention it here, is using Pinterest for your content. So Pinterest is a search engine that literally it exists to drive traffic places. Obviously, they want you to stay on the platform, but the whole goal is that you go there, you find the thing that you're looking for, you click the link. Every other platform on the planet is going to penalize you for putting links somewhere else. Pinterest, that's the methodology. That's what they're built on. And so you can use this for your Instagram reels. You can use this for your podcast. You can use this for blogs on the website, whatever you want to use it for. LinkedIn posts, all of that can be put on Pinterest, and then traffic is driven back to whatever that post is. And if you've got a call to action to sign up for your newsletter, there you go. You're building your list. So you can even put direct links to the newsletter if there's a clear value proposition in it. So content that's created that positions you, that inspires people, that connects with the right people through conviction content, and that has clear calls to action. Weekly newsletter, we only send one a week. I don't send 25 emails a week. I send one email a week. And then getting that newsletter out into the world with either podcast guesting, Pinterest, ads, or just outbound engagement. So that's the basics. Now you can add a million layers of complexity to that. You can be on 25 platforms. You can use all kinds of ads. You can do all kinds of things. But at its core, bring new people in, nurture them, and then sell to them. You could use your podcast. You could use your YouTube channel. There's a million ways to do it. But that's the simplest, easiest formula.
Everything that is performing at a really high level right now is really simple stuff that's a throwback. I mean, direct selling on social media, email newsletters, right? Just basic messaging strategies. It's like the simpler it is, the higher it performs. So I just want everyone to hear that. And, absolutely, you have to be out there engaging with people. Like there's so much automation and so many tools and so much AI coming into play now. And so many people are over automating and they're trying to replace the human connection with the automation, and they're bombing because it's not there yet. And there's nothing that can replace that human connection. Now, Danielle, we have been seeing insane opt-ins and registrations from one of the new strategies that we've been testing, that we just took live at the time of this recording, like a week ago, not even like 3 days ago. And we have been blown away by how this is working. So do you want to just give a little bit of a sneak peek of what we're doing there with the content funnel that you built?
Yeah, so we just built our first chat funnel inside of Instagram, and it's actually generated way more than I thought it would initially. So it's going really well. It's very simple. It's using DM automation inside of Instagram. So basically, traditionally, you would make a post, it would drive someone to a landing page. The landing page would then get, capture the information. It goes into your email service provider. And then you're hoping that the person remembers you and opens the email and gets nurtured that way. So instead of that, you're keeping everything inside the Instagram DMs, and the entire funnel is in there. You don't need a landing page. It's literally all set up through a connection from ManyChat to your Instagram. And you can do this on Facebook Messenger too. We just launched the Messenger one yesterday, but basically it's all in the conversation. And so they're not leaving to go to a landing page. They're getting the PDF or training or whatever you've got as your lead magnet delivered in the DMs. So when you DM them later, they can see the previous history. They know exactly who you are. They see your profile. They can be nurtured by your content. It's been working really, really well. Right now, we've only tested a new lead magnet. So we aren't testing yet any sort of workshop or sale directly. I'm building 2 funnels right now for agency clients that will go directly to masterclasses, and we'll see how those go. But typically, the more steps that you have that remove the person from a place where they can see you, the harder it's going to be to get their engagement. And one of the things the reason we decided to test this was we had, not just for us, but for so many clients, their lead generation for launches was great. Their cost per leads were fine, but they were getting such a low show up rate that it was really hard to, you just had to keep getting more and more leads. And there's a million layers to that. You got to nurture your old leads. There's a whole thing with that. But if there is a way to keep leads more familiar with you during the process, you're going to win at getting them at least to attend the masterclass or watch the replay. And so this is a simple way that we've been doing that. It is something we can do for you in the agency. There's some specific requirements to the size of account you have to have, the type of content you have to have. But so far, it's been awesome. It automates directly to our CRM. So basically, how we've set this up is people go through a process. They're actually added to our CRM, where then they get Kelly's newsletter every week, and they're actually on a list that is a direct broadcast list, different from broadcast lists in Instagram, but a direct DM list where we can send them information. We use those DMs very sparingly, but we, again, it's been such a smooth transition. It's simple to implement the content side. It's a little bit harder on the back end side to set stuff up. So that is a process, but we've seen great results so far. We're testing it with more agency clients, and we're opening up agency slots for this in August. I'm going to only take on 2 clients. Like I said, you have to have specific requirements, at least 10,000 followers on Instagram, and you have to have a proven offer. But if that's you and you want some info, DM me.
Yeah, love it. No, I am blown away. Honestly, I didn't have any expectations going in because we test so many things and we never know what's going to work and what's not. But I mean, just the organic growth that's coming from it and the registrations. And if you go on my Instagram, you can see it, and you can see content that we're putting out continuously that invites you to comment the word trends. And you will see every day people doing that, and they are getting registered on our email list and are going to the newsletter, and then they will end up being invited to launches and so forth. And we're going to be using this across companies as we continue to refine it and expand it. So great way to drive organic traffic. And, for us right now, we're sending it to the newsletter, but obviously you could use this strategy to fill your launches, which is why it's so powerful. And I cannot wait for our next launch to use this strategy. So definitely get in touch with Danielle if you are interested in learning about how this strategy could work for you. But just some high level takeaways from the show today, really think about the basic foundations of your marketing. And I would really focus right now on better quality versus more quantity, right? There's a ton of noise in the market right now, and it's really crucial that what you're doing exceptionally well. And that goes for your newsletter that you're putting out each week, contacting your list sparingly versus bombarding them, and really focusing on open rates so that when you do have something really important that you want to market and fill from your list, that you're training them to open and that you're training them that it's valuable to spend time engaging with your brand in that way. For some of you guys, you may need to do like a rehabilitation period with your email list. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, go back again to the conviction marketing pyramid. Hope, how to, and conviction, right? And really making sure that your marketing is balancing out those things to lead them down a pathway from know, like, trust to buy, and really making sure that when you're designing your content, that there is a strategy to get your content converting. I think for so many people, it's like spray and pray. I need to keep up with all the things I'm supposed to be doing. And it's not producing an outcome because your intention is not dialed into outcome. So really thinking about the reverse engineer, right? Again, to Danielle's point, in these companies, we're making sales on a daily basis. And that started with a decision that in Danielle's companies, we're going to make sales on a daily basis. How do we do that? Engaging on social media each day, making offers, being really intentional with using the conviction marketing method in the content that we're creating, building really strong brand under each of these companies so that we are getting inbound requests for calls, right? Making sure that we're managing the database effectively. We know that people sit in ecosystem many times for 3 to 6 months plus before they make a buying decision. So if your follow-up process is crap, chances are you're really struggling with sales big time. Did you want to add to that, Danielle?
Well, I just think too, we so undervalue the people who look but don't engage. We had an agency client who she has a very high ticket coaching offer.
Yeah.
And in the last 2 weeks, she's had 2 different people reach out who she said they have never, ever commented or liked anything, but both said, I saw your post. I've been watching for a while and I knew you were the coach for me. And they called her and she's like, it's the easiest sales call I've ever had. And so we think we need all these things, but we don't realize there are tons of people just watching and they're not going to reach out till they're ready. But when they're ready, if you're consistent and you show up daily, you will be the person they reach out to. So that's just a really underestimated part of the process.
It's so powerful. And I've seen this over and over and over again with all of our high ticket services. Most of our best buyers, when they engage and they're ready to buy, we've never heard their name. We have no idea who they are. And they'll say to us, I've been listening to the podcast. I've been consuming your content online. I viewed your launch. They've checked all those boxes, but they're reaching out when they're ready to make a decision, which that is your perfect dream buyer, someone who's qualified, who's done their homework, who has the money, and they've already made the decision that they're ready to buy because they've been preparing for this conversation, which goes back to something that I just recorded another episode for you guys on. So many people are reaching out to me saying, how do I get dream buyers? How do I get best buyers? Well, you get best buyers when instead of being a dancing monkey for the people that engage with your content because it's fluffy and it makes them feel good and it speaks to the people that you already have in your audience, you are going to get dream buyers when you create content for your dream buyers, regardless of the engagement online. If you are creating content based on how it performs for likes and comments, chances are you're going to keep attracting people that don't have the money, that aren't ready to buy. Your dream buyers are not going to be doing a ton of engagement on your content, period, end of story. I can't even think of a legacy leader that engaged on our content before they bought from us. I cannot even name a person. I don't even know a human that engaged, that was buying at that level. Same thing goes for people that have done private mentorship or high level. I know the people for you, Danielle, coming in for the agency, spending multiple thousands per month. Like, we don't know these people, but they know us. Right. They've been watching the Conviction Marketing account every single day. They're looking at the content, they're looking at the branding, and they're like, yep, these people, they know what they're doing. This is who I want on my team. Right. So I definitely think that there is an element of critical thinking and thoughtfulness to strategy in this market. And I love that. And you all should love that too. This is the market that you want to be performing in. This is the market that is really going to allow you to refine your ability to attract dream buyers, because people are being thoughtful and discerning. And when you have an expert brand that actually provides value and actually makes a difference for people, you should be excited about that, because it's your market to win. It's your market to win. Absolutely.
And I think that's really important. If you do not have mastery of what you do right now, I would just say, just take everything you just forget about it, because it's not going to work. You have to really know your stuff, and you have to really be able to confidently communicate. And if you're a bit newer and you're like, gosh, I don't have years of results, Danielle, that's fine. People will know that you know what you're talking about by in-depth content. That's why I love a newsletter. That's actually why I love a podcast. It's really hard to fake that when you're on a podcast, or when you're writing something so in depth that you have to have a working knowledge of it. Even in social media posts. I mean, I would want someone to go to my LinkedIn profile and say, dang, she knows more than anyone else that I can think of, because of my free social media content. And so, number one, if you're not in that place, it is the time to master what you do. You cannot demand high ticket pricing without a really deep understanding of how to get people results. That's number one. Number two, if you are one of those people who you're like, I'm an expert and I know what I'm talking about, and all these kids are coming up here talking like they know what they're doing, and they don't know what they're doing, and you're mad that people less qualified than you are getting more clients than you, it is time to actually dial in your content strategy. So that
for sure.
You learn how to do it, and you learn how to do it right, or you pay someone who knows how to do it and knows how to do it right. Because you could complain about all these kids marketing themselves who don't know anything, or you could just be the expert and market yourself and get the clients and get results. And so I see a lot of that with people who actually are very good at what they do, and they are the best. And they're like, well, all these people aren't as good as me. And I'm like, well, it doesn't matter, because they're on social every day, and they're promoting, and they're teaching, and they're doing the things. And so if you want to position yourself that way, it's going to require, it's not just a switch you turn on and people just automatically know you're amazing. They have to know why you're amazing. And that takes time, and that takes strategy, and that takes effort. And that takes
for sure
smart positioning and branding. And it takes doing that over time. You're not going to do it for a week and people are just gonna be like, oh yeah, they're the best. It's going to be you showing up consistently for a long time. So just a little plug.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's recommitting to your craft. Mm-hmm. It's recommitting to your craft. And like, I feel like both you and I are doing this like big time right now, Danielle. Like, I think that I see it in your work. I see it in my work. Like, we've both recommitted so deeply to our craft, and you're more in the written form and I'm more in the spoken form. But what we're putting out in the world right now, I feel, is the best work we've ever done. And now is the time for that. And that's a good thing. Like, I just want everyone to really feel that and understand that. Like, you want to be operating in a market where people are discerning between quality and experts and authority and contribution. Like, it's a beautiful place for us to be in. So I would say lean into it. Don't resist it. Don't be afraid of it. Don't be frustrated by it. If you know that you're doing the work that you're called to do, and you're committed to being the best in the world at what you do, and you show up with that intent, that is going to ring through, and that is going to pour out of you, and people are going to recognize that. Absolutely. So I think I'm excited about the back half of this year. I'm really excited about 2024. I personally feel that, in the changing landscape that we're in right now, quality is really going to rise to the top. And if you're committed, 2024 is going to be a great year for you guys. It's going to be a great year for you guys. So I would say lean all the way in and have fun with it and enjoy the process of recommitting to the quality of what you're doing, because that's really going to make a difference in the market that we're operating in today. And that's a really good thing.
And I'm excited. I'm excited that it's so simple. I'm excited that we don't need all these.
I love it. I love that all the throwbacks are coming back. Personally, my simple heart is like so happy. All this basic stuff is coming back. And I'm like, amen. Alleluia. I love it. I love the simplicity. I love all the throwbacks that are making a comeback. It's just the basics that work, you know?
Yeah. And I think too, just remembering that once you've got one thing that works and it works organically, you can put money behind it. You can create it across platforms. So you can take that simplicity, that one little method, and you can put it here, 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 here. You can throw some behind it and elevate the results. And so there's a lot of ways to improve that. So yeah, if you guys have, so I'm going to link both our newsletters in the show notes.
Yep.
I'll also put a link to book a call with me if you want to talk about building out a chat funnel. Again, there are some specific requirements. You need 10,000 followers on Instagram and a proven offer that has sold. If you want just to talk more about agency services, we do consulting. If you're like, hey, I don't know that I need done for you. I don't need everything handled for me, but I want someone to walk through a specific strategy. We can do that consultatively. But then obviously we have a bunch of done for you services, LinkedIn, podcast production, email, newsletter, marketing, all the things. So we'll link that to book a call there as well.
Awesome. All right, Danielle, thanks for being our special guest once again on the show. Thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe and share this episode with someone that you feel it could make a difference for. And if you want to see one of the funnels that's converting right now and you want to be a part of this entire process and conversation, head on over to Instagram and DM me the word trends.
Yeah. And it'll take you through. You can see
it'll take you through. You can see the whole shebang. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. See you later.